Helo pawb. Da iawn bawb sydd efo'r dyfal parhad i aros tan y diwedd. Falch iawn o'ch gweld chi. A mae wedi bod, tydi ddim wedi bod yn gynhadledd da, ynda. Da ni wedi cael gynhadledd da iawn. Dwi'n mynd deud hyn bob blwyddyn, cos mae'n teimlo chydig bod chi'n melltythio rhywbeth bron, ond dwi'n meddwl mae dyma'r wirioneddol, da ni yn teimlo bod na rhywbeth yn y gwynt, yn does. Mae yna newid yn y gwynt. Mae yna rhywbeth newydd ar ddod. Mae yna gyfle am gyfnod newydd cyffroes i Gymru. Da ni'n teimlo hynny. A mae yna adegau mewn hanes cenedl lle mae yn rhaid iddi benderfynu hynt i dyfodol. Pan fydd rhaid i ni dorri yn rhydd o hialer gorffennol a dewis llwybr newydd. A dyma un o'r adegau hynny rwan hyn. Be da ni wedi weld y penwythnos yma yw bod pob un ohono ni sydd wedi bod yn y neuadd yma mewn cytun gyda nod clir. Mi allwn ni ethol prif weinidog newydd yn 2026. Mi allwn ni ethol llywodraeth dan arweiniad Plaid Cymru gyda Rhyn ap Iorwerth wrth y lliw. Da ni'n gallu wneud o. A mae'r cyfan o hynny yn dwylo ni. Mae Cymru wedi cael ei dal yn ôl yn rhy hir. Gen i lywodraethau yn San Steffan sy'n mynd dallt, sy'n malio ddim am ein pobl, a Plaid Llafur yng Nghaerdydd sydd wedi blino, sy'n llyddedig, sy'n hunanfodlon a bellach yn gwrthod sefyll cornel Cymru. Da ni'n gweld sgil effeithio hynny. Ond hyn sy'n bwysig i ni fel plaid, da ni ddim jyst yma i gwyno, i ddisgrifio'r problemau. Da ni yma i gynnig rhywbeth gwell. Nid jyst i brotestio, ond i arwain. Dros y dyddiau diwetha, da ni wedi gweld pŵr gwleidyddiaeth gymunedol sy'n gwasanaethu pobl, nid buddiannau busnesau mawr yn Llundain. A dwi jyst eisiau cymryd cyfle i canu clod un o cymeriadau o cynghorwyr Gwynedd sydd bellach yn rhoi'r agored i hi. Bydd llawer ohonych chi yn nabod hi fel Linda Pengwern. Dyna di henw arferol hi. Linda Ann Jones. Mae hi'n ymddeol ar ôl bron i 39 mlynedd fel cynghorydd yn Stiniog. A'r hyn dwi eisiau gwneud, y cymharydd dwi eisiau gwneud fanna, trailblazer o ddynas oedd Linda. Un o'r cynghorwyr cynhara o fenywod yng Ngwynedd i'r blaid. Ond mae gennym ni yng Ngwynedd cyngor rwan sy'n cael ei arwain gan trailblazer arall. Nia Jeffries ydy'r arweinydd gyntaf o fenyw yng Ngwynedd. Ni'n torri tir newydd. Ond wrth gwrs, yr hyn dwi'n wneud, achos mae bobl yn gwybod fan hyn, bydd Arwyn yn gwybod fan hyn, fel asiad, yr hyn mae Liz Saville Roberts really bwynhau ydy etholiad. A mae gennym ni is-etholiad felly yn War Teigl, a mae hyn yn alwad allan i chi os da chi ar gael ar y 10 o Ebrill, a da ni'n mynd i fynd yna a dangos bod yna stamp Plaid Cymru sydd wedi cadw Gwynedd yn Wynedd ers mor hir bod hwnna'n mynd i barhau. Felly dewch allan i ymgyrchu gyda Geraint Parry ar y 10 o Ebrill. And I'd also really like to thank Seamus Logan from our sister party, the SNP, for his passionate speech yesterday. His words were, of course, a reminder of the shared struggle which we face and the opportunities that lie ahead. Think about it. In 2026, for the first time, we could have two pro-independence governments working together to improve the lives of our two nations and learning from each other. That, my friends, is a real partnership in power. None of this rubbish about both ends of the M4. Fundamental to Plaid Cymru's purpose is to drive prosperity in our economy. We have incredible small businesses. I was delighted to visit Dylan's restaurant this morning and to see how they have grown, how they provide this fantastic Welsh branded restaurant service, and also their plans for succession into the future. That's so much there that fits our values of Plaid Cymru. But at the same time, the lesson that we learnt there, we need to be able to replicate that with other Welsh businesses, because there is a lack of homegrown businesses that go beyond the small business and then grow to become larger businesses that then have that continuity. What we want is those businesses, of course, that can provide jobs, inject money into our communities, and we need a government that will step up and support local businesses to grow. And of course, this is what we're seeing. Unfortunately, Labour is doing the exact opposite, holding businesses back, the employment they could make, the wealth they could bring to their communities by loading them down with the sky-high national insurance costs. Not only that, of course, they have scrapped winter fuel payments for pensioners, they have refused to lift the 2-child cap, keeping children in poverty, and now they're slashing £5 billion in welfare support from disabled people. We all agree on the need to clean up the economic mess left by the Tories. But balancing the books at the expense of small businesses and at the expense of the most vulnerable people in our society is not the way to do it. And that is absolutely essential to our values. It's core to our values. Labour rode in on a wave of talking about change. They claim to offer an alternative to Tory rule, but when it comes to the economy, what has really changed? Instead of breaking with the past, Labour is doubling down on the failed economic model that has left Wales poorer, sicker, and less productive in the last 15 years. To govern, of course, is to choose. Politics is always about choices. Labour is choosing to abandon Wales. Rachel Reeves says there are difficult choices to make, but those choices always seem to rain hardest on the poorest, the sickest, the most vulnerable, and it's the ultra-wealthy and the big corporations who are sheltered from the storm. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. There are other choices. Instead of hiking national insurances for small businesses, they could close tax loopholes that allow City of London lawyers to pay less tax than Welsh shopkeepers. Instead of making it harder for those who are ill to access the support they need, they could clamp down on corporate tax evasion that costs billions every year. Instead of gutting Welsh public services, they could end taxpayer subsidies for oil and gas giants who are making record profits. Instead of taxing working family farms, they could ensure that those making millions from property speculation pay their fair share. And this I must say, if the UK is to make an argument for its existence, the very structural inequality which we in Wales suffers the most, that is what Labour should be seeking to address, not keeping our communities under the hatches as they have done for far too long. But these, as you know, conference, as you know well, these are the choices that Plaid Cymru is prepared to make. The choices that put Wales first. And Labour won't make them because they're still trapped by outdated Treasury thinking. They cling to ideological fiscal rules, a choice that serve the financial elite best while leaving ordinary people behind. And other countries have done it differently. They have faced real change. Germany have adapted their economic strategy to meet new global realities. Labour, of all people, should be doing the same. Because make no mistake, the world is changing. Trump is wreaking havoc again, pushing reckless tariffs and threatening our industries. International law and human rights are being scorned with impunity in Gaza, and we are seeing horrific sights unfolding once again there. The war in Ukraine rages on, and Labour's failure to invest in our future in these new circumstances leave us dangerously exposed. Next week's spring statement will be a gloomy affair with little thought given to our nation's future. Plaid Cymru, as we always do, we will be there to hold them to account. We will be there to oppose this new wave of Labour-branded austerity, and we will fight for the investment our nation deserves. So on the one hand, we have Labour, tired, run out of ideas, reboiling Tory economic policies, representing those. But it's not the only danger, of course, that we face here in Wales. If we, Plaid Cymru, do not provide solutions to Labour's failings, there is something worse waiting in the wings to take their place. Reform UK isn't just another party, it's a limited company that only exists to make money for Nigel Farage by whipping up hatred. They claim to speak for the people, but they serve the billionaires. They say they want change, but their change means privatising the NHS, stripping away workers' rights, and taking power away from Wales. They thrive on division. They will attack our language, they will undermine our identity, and they will turn neighbour against neighbour, because that is what political hatred does for them. If we do not take this threat seriously, they could become the biggest party in the Cynhadledd. Our national parliament, Wales's national parliament, Reform UK. And if that happens, it would be a disaster for Wales. Now this must galvanise us, because I got into politics to stand against everything that Reform UK proposes. All their values are anathema to me. We must be out there for the sake of Wales, for the sake of decency, for the sake of the values that we hold true. We have a duty to do that. Let this galvanise us, because we must do it. And it is fair to say, because we know where Labour is now, we, Plaid Cymru, are the only party that can stop reform and deliver for Wales. Labour is too weak. It's almost as they've given up. They assume they have a right to govern, but they also know that the wind is completely out of their sails. It is only us who can resolve this. We will defend our NHS. We'll provide genuine solutions. We'll protect our communities from cuts. We will build an economy that works for the people of Wales, not Farage and his banker mates. We will stop reforms policies from taking root in our nation. Westminster won't change unless we make them listen. We have just over a year to make that happen and to elect a Plaid Cymru government. So what would change? Plaid Cymru government will put Keir Starmer on notice. You see how it is with Scotland. You see the respect that they've had. We will genuinely stand up to him, not kowtow while he drifts further and further to the right. We will demand fair funding, investment in our economy, and full control over our future. Because, conference, when Wales speaks with a Plaid Cymru First Minister at the helm, Westminster, at last, will have no choice but to listen. So I am delighted to say that this conference has made one thing really clear. Plaid Cymru is ready to lead. Labour has failed. Reform is a threat. Plaid Cymru is the only party that truly puts Wales first. We cannot let Labour's failure open the door to a party that doesn't even believe in Wales, just as it sees us as an opportunity, a vehicle for their own overweening ambition. So we must take this fight to every community, every street, every household, because our future depends on it. And conference, this is our moment. Together we can provide hope to the people of Wales. We can build that stronger, fairer future. We've got the momentum. Let's keep it. Let's keep working at it. Let's make history and elect Rhys Saville as the next First Minister of Wales in 2026. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Diolch yn fawr iawn, Cynhadledd. Da iawn, da iawn.